When you think of Hades, what comes to mind? Perhaps you envision a dark, malevolent figure ruling over the damned with cruel indifference. Maybe you picture him as the villain of countless stories, the embodiment of death and despair. But what if everything you thought you knew about Hades was wrong? Tonight, we're going to journey into the depths of the underworld, not as tourists passing through, but as seekers of truth. We're going to discover who Hades really is. Beyond the myths, beyond the misconceptions, beyond the fear that has shrouded his name for millennia. This isn't just a story about a god of death. This is a story about duty, sacrifice, and the loneliest job in all of creation. If you enjoy topics like this, I'd really appreciate a quick like, or even a subscribe. It helps more than you know. I'm always curious where you all are listening from. So, drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Love seeing our little global community connect through similar interests. You can listen along to this video playing in the background, or if you plan on falling asleep. Dim the lights, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. In the world of Supergiant Games' masterpiece, we meet a version of Hades that challenges everything we think we know. Here is a father struggling with his son's rebellion, a ruler burdened by responsibilities no one else could bear, and a being whose love manifests in ways that others mistake for cruelty. But to understand this Hades, we must first understand the original, the mythological foundation upon which this complex character stands. The ancient Greeks didn't see Hades as evil. They saw him as necessary. While his brothers Zeus and Poseidon ruled the bright heavens and the flowing seas, Hades accepted the darkest realm of all. Not because he was wicked, but because someone had to. Someone had to maintain the balance between life and death. Someone had to ensure that the natural order continued. Someone had to be the guardian of the inevitable destination that awaits us all. But ruling the dead is a thankless task.
The living fear you, the dead resent you, and even your fellow gods prefer to pretend you don't exist. Imagine the weight of such isolation. Imagine the burden of being essential yet unwanted, powerful yet unloved, necessary yet forever misunderstood. This is the foundation of Hades' character, both in ancient mythology and in the brilliant interpretation we find in the game. He is not the villain of the story. He is its most tragic figure, its most complex character, and perhaps its most human god, despite ruling over the realm of the dead. Tonight, as we explore his story together, you'll discover layers of depth that transform our understanding of this misunderstood deity. We'll walk through the halls of the House of Hades, witness the dynamics of a divine family in crisis, and come to understand why Hades makes the choices he does. We'll see how duty and love can become indistinguishable, how protection can look like imprisonment, and how the greatest acts of love sometimes require us to let go. The Hades we'll encounter is not a monster. He's a father who doesn't know how to express his love. He's a ruler who carries the weight of maintaining cosmic order. He's a husband who made terrible mistakes and struggles to make amends. He's a brother who accepted the role no one else wanted and has borne that burden for eternity. In the game, Hades, through the eyes of his son Zagreus, a young god desperate to escape the underworld and discover the truth about his mother. But as we delve deeper into their relationship, we begin to understand that Hades' seemingly harsh treatment of his son comes not from cruelty, but from a deep, desperate love. A love that fears loss so much it becomes controlling. A love that would rather be hated than risk being abandoned. This is a story about family, about the ways we hurt the ones we love most, about the courage it takes to change, and about the possibility of redemption even for those who seem beyond saving. It's about understanding that sometimes the people who seem the most unreachable are the ones who need connection the most. As we journey through this exploration together, let the gentle rhythm of the story carry you into peaceful rest. Let the complexity of Hades' character wash over you like a soothing tide. Here, in the quiet darkness of your evening, you can finally see this misunderstood god for who he truly is. Not a villain, not a monster, but a being struggling with the same fundamental challenges that face us all. How to love without controlling, how to protect without imprisoning, how to lead without losing ourselves in the process. The underworld awaits, and with it, the truth about its ruler. Tonight, we discover that Hades is not who you think he is. He's someone far more complex, far more relatable, and far more worthy of our understanding than anyone ever imagined. Welcome to the real story of Hades, the most misunderstood character in all of mythology. So settle in, close your eyes, and let us begin this journey into the depths. Let us discover together why Hades deserves not our fear, but our compassion. Why his story is not one of evil, but of love expressed in the most difficult circumstances imaginable. Why he is, perhaps, the most human of all the gods, despite ruling over the realm where humanity ends. The truth about Hades begins now, in the gentle darkness of this moment, where understanding blooms like flowers in the eternal twilight of the underworld itself. Chapter 1. The Burden of the Crown. Exploring Hades' role as ruler of the underworld, the weight of his responsibilities, and how duty shaped him into the stern figure we meet. Examining the loneliness of leadership and the sacrifices required to maintain cosmic order. Imagine, for a moment, the weight of the world, not just metaphorically, but literally, pressing down on your shoulders. That's a fraction of what Hades, the god of the underworld, carries every single day. Forget the fiery pits and torture chambers. Those are the inventions of fearful mortals, not the reality of his domain. The underworld is a vast, intricate bureaucracy, a city of souls that requires constant management and unwavering order. Think of it as the ultimate HR department, dealing with an infinite number of employees, each with their own unique and often tragic story. Hades isn't a jailer, he's an administrator. He's not a torturer, he's a judge. He's not a monster, he's a vital cog in the cosmic machine, ensuring that death, as unpleasant as it may seem, remains a necessary and balanced part of existence. But what does it truly mean to bear the burden of the crown in the underworld? It means making impossible decisions, mediating endless disputes, and maintaining a stoic facade even when the weight of countless souls threatens to crush you. Consider the logistics alone. Every single mortal who has ever lived or ever will live eventually ends up in the underworld. That's a staggering number. Each soul must be processed, judged, and assigned to its appropriate place, be it the fields of Asphodel, Elysium, or, yes, even Tartarus. This isn't a simple matter of checking a box on a form. Hades must weigh the deeds of each individual, consider their motivations, and ultimately decide their fate. It's a responsibility that demands impartiality, wisdom, and an almost superhuman level of emotional detachment. And that's just the administrative side. The underworld is also a volatile place, rife with unrest and simmering resentment. Souls trapped for eternity often grow restless, longing for the life they left behind. Maintaining order requires constant vigilance, a network of loyal servants, and, when necessary, the swift and decisive application of divine power. Hades doesn't rule through fear alone. He rules through a sense of duty, a deep-seated belief that his role is essential to the stability of the cosmos. He understands that without death there can be no life, and without order in the underworld, chaos would reign supreme. But this dedication comes at a price. The constant exposure to death and suffering takes its toll, hardening his heart and shaping him into the stern, imposing figure we often see. He becomes a master of control, suppressing his own emotions in order to maintain control over his realm. Imagine spending eternity surrounded by the echoes of loss and regret. How could anyone remain untouched by such profound sorrow? Hades' stoicism is not a sign of indifference but a shield, a necessary defense against the overwhelming negativity that permeates his domain. He's a solitary figure, isolated by his responsibilities and the very nature of his role. While his brothers Zeus and Poseidon revel in the glories of Olympus and the depths of the sea, Hades remains confined to the shadows, a silent guardian of the dead. This isolation breeds a profound sense of loneliness. How can you forge meaningful connections when your primary duty is to shepherd souls into the afterlife? How can you experience joy when you are constantly surrounded by sorrow? The sacrifices required of Hades are immense. He forgoes the pleasures of the mortal world, the warmth of companionship, and the simple joys of life in order to fulfill his cosmic duty. He is a prisoner of his own responsibility, bound to the underworld by an unbreakable chain of obligation. But is he truly content with this fate? Does he ever yearn for something more? Does he ever question the fairness of the cosmic order that has condemned him to this eternal solitude? The answer, as you might suspect, is complex. Hades is a god of contradictions, a figure shrouded in mystery and burdened by untold pain. He is both the stern ruler of the underworld and a deeply wounded soul, yearning for connection and understanding. What you're about to learn is that his stern demeanor is not a reflection of malice, but a consequence of his burden, a mask worn to conceal the vulnerability beneath. His dedication to duty is not a sign of coldness, but a testament to his unwavering commitment to the cosmic balance. But how did he come to inherit this unenviable role? What events shaped him into the god we know, the ruler of the realm no one else wanted? The answer lies in his origins, in the tumultuous family dynamics that defined his early life and set the stage for his eternal destiny. That's where we're going next. Let's journey back to the very beginning, to the dawn of the gods, and explore the blood and birthright that forged Hades into the ruler of the underworld. Now, let's delve into the chaotic origins of Hades, a tale of sibling rivalry, cosmic division, and a destiny thrust upon him rather than chosen. Forget the image of a solitary ruler. Hades' story is deeply intertwined with his brothers Zeus and Poseidon. Their father, Chronos, the Titan king, devoured his own children, fearing a prophecy that one would overthrow him. But Rhea, their mother, cleverly hid Zeus, the youngest, and tricked Chronos into swallowing a stone instead. Zeus, once grown, freed his siblings from Chronos' belly, and thus began the epic Titanomachy, the war between the Titans and the Olympians. Imagine the battlefield, a clash of celestial forces where gods and titans battled for control of the cosmos. Hades, along with his brothers, fought valiantly against the Titans, wielding weapons forged by the Cyclopes. Hades received a helm of darkness, granting him invisibility, a power that would later become synonymous with his role as ruler of the underworld. After 10 long years of war, the Olympians emerged victorious. Chronos and the Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest abyss of the underworld, a realm that would eventually become Hades' domain. But victory brought a new challenge, dividing the spoils of war. How would the three brothers, all equally powerful and deserving, share the cosmos? They decided to draw lots, a seemingly fair but ultimately fateful decision that would shape their destinies for eternity. Zeus drew the sky, becoming the king of the gods, ruling from Mount Olympus and wielding the power of thunder and lightning. Poseidon drew the sea, becoming the lord of the oceans, commanding the waves and wielding his mighty trident. And Hades, he drew the underworld, the realm of the dead, the land of shadows, the place no one else wanted. Imagine the disappointment, the feeling of being relegated to the darkest corner of existence while your brothers basked in the glory of the heavens and the depths of the sea. But Hades accepted his fate, understanding that someone had to rule the underworld, someone had to maintain order in the realm of the dead. He embraced his responsibility, even though it meant sacrificing the light and joy of the upper world. Why did no one else want the underworld? It's not just the association with death and darkness. It's the isolation, the constant presence of suffering, the lack of beauty and joy. It's a realm that demands a certain temperament, a certain stoicism, a certain acceptance of the inevitable. Hades possessed those qualities. He was not ambitious like Zeus, nor impulsive like Poseidon. He was thoughtful, deliberate, and deeply committed to maintaining balance. He understood that death was not an end, but a transition, a necessary part of the cycle of life. His relationship with his brothers was complex, marked by both affection and resentment. He respected Zeus's authority, but he also envied his power and his freedom. He admired Poseidon's passion, but he also found him reckless and unpredictable. Hades remained aloof, preferring the solitude of his own realm to the boisterous gatherings of Olympus. He was the quiet observer, the silent guardian, the one who stood apart from the drama and intrigue of the Olympian court. But his distance did not mean he was uncaring. He understood the importance of family, even if he struggled to express his emotions. He was loyal to his brothers even when they disagreed, and he would always come to their aid when needed. The division of the cosmos was not just a geographical separation. It was a defining moment in the lives of the three brothers, shaping their personalities and their relationships for eternity. It set the stage for their individual triumphs and tragedies, their moments of glory and their periods of despair. But what if Hades had drawn a different lot? What if he had become the king of the gods or the lord of the sea? How would his personality have changed? How would his relationship with his brothers have evolved? It's a question that lingers in the shadows, a reminder that destiny is not always a matter of choice, but sometimes a matter of chance. Hades' fate was sealed by a simple drawing, a moment of pure luck that determined his eternal role as ruler of the underworld. You're beginning to see that his stern exterior is not just a product of his environment, but also a consequence of his birthright, a destiny he accepted with a quiet dignity and unwavering commitment. But the underworld is more than just a job. It's a reflection of Hades himself. The architecture, the atmosphere, the very essence of the realm reveals much about its master's psychology. So, let's step inside and explore the house that Death built, the House of Hades. It's not just a physical location, it's an extension of his very being. Forget the simplistic image of a dark, desolate wasteland. The underworld is a complex, multifaceted realm, reflecting the intricate layers of Hades' own personality. Imagine vast, echoing halls built from obsidian and shimmering with the faint glow of Stygian iron. Picture gardens filled with pale, ethereal flowers, their petals forever damp with the tears of the forgotten. Envision rivers of fire and sorrow winding their way through the landscape, carrying the lamentations of the damned. The architecture of the underworld is imposing, designed to inspire awe and instill a sense of order. The structures are massive, built to last for eternity, reflecting Hades' own sense of permanence and his commitment to maintaining the cosmic balance. But there's also a sense of melancholy that permeates the underworld, a feeling of loss and regret that hangs heavy in the air. The colors are muted, the light is dim, and the silence is broken only by the whispers of the dead. This is not a place of joy or celebration. It's a place of reflection, a place where souls come to terms with their past and prepare for their final fate. It's a place that demands respect, a place that reminds you of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The House of Hades is not just a palace, it's a fortress, a sanctuary, and a prison all rolled into one. It's a place where Hades can retreat from the world, where he can contemplate the mysteries of existence, and where he can grapple with the weight of his responsibilities. The environment shapes the relationships within. The somber atmosphere encourages introspection and discourages frivolousness. The vastness of the realm creates a sense of distance, even among those who are closest to Hades. But within this seemingly bleak landscape, there are also pockets of beauty and serenity. The Elysian Fields, for example, are a paradise for the souls of heroes and the virtuous, a place of eternal reward and blissful tranquility. And even in the darkest corners of Tartarus, there is a sense of purpose, a sense that even the most heinous criminals are being held accountable for their actions. The underworld is not just a place of punishment, it's a place of justice, a place where the scales of cosmic balance are finally tipped. Hades' own chambers are a reflection of his personality, austere, functional, and devoid of unnecessary ornamentation. He prefers simplicity and order, valuing practicality over aesthetics. But there are also subtle hints of his inner life, glimpses of the emotions he keeps carefully guarded, a single withered flower on his desk, perhaps a memento of a past love, a collection of ancient scrolls filled with philosophical musings on life and death. These small details reveal a man of depth and intelligence, a man who is not as cold and unfeeling as he appears. They suggest a hidden capacity for empathy, a longing for connection, and a deep understanding of the human condition. The House of Hades is not just a backdrop for his story, it's an integral part of it. It's a reflection of his soul, a testament to his resilience, and a symbol of his eternal duty. What does it reveal about his true nature? It reveals that he is not a monster, but a complex and multifaceted individual, burdened by responsibility and haunted by loss. It reveals that he is not a tyrant, but a just and fair ruler, committed to maintaining order in the realm of the dead. The underworld is a challenging place to live, but it is also a place of profound beauty, and hidden wisdom. It's a place that can teach us about ourselves, about our fears, and about our hopes for the afterlife. But within this house of Hades, there exists a particularly complex and often misunderstood relationship, his connection with Zagreus. What happens when a god of the underworld attempts to be a father? You might be surprised. Now, let's confront a more intimate aspect of Hades' existence, his role as a father to Zagreus. This isn't the story of a benevolent, doting parent. It's a tale of complex emotions, stifled affection, and the crushing weight of expectations. Hades' relationship with Zagreus is fraught with tension from the very beginning. He is distant, critical, and seemingly incapable of expressing affection. He views Zagreus' desire to escape the underworld as a personal affront, a betrayal of his duty, and a rejection of his legacy. But beneath this stern exterior lies a deep-seated fear, a fear of loss, and a desire to protect his son from the dangers of the outside world. Hades knows the cruelty and chaos that exist beyond the borders of his realm, and he believes that Zagreus is safer under his watchful eye. His paternal love becomes controlling, suffocating Zagreus' spirit and stifling his individuality. He imposes strict rules and regulations, expecting unwavering obedience and conformity. He fails to recognize Zagreus' own strengths and desires, instead attempting to mold him into his own image. Imagine the frustration and resentment that Zagreus must feel, trapped in the underworld, constantly criticized by his father, and denied the freedom to pursue his own path. He longs for connection, for approval, for a father who will accept him for who he is, not for who Hades wants him to be. But Hades struggles to express his love in a healthy way. He is a god of few words, accustomed to command and control. He finds it difficult to be vulnerable, to show his emotions, or to admit his own imperfections. He believes that his harsh discipline is for Zagreus' own good, that he is preparing him for the challenges that lie ahead. But in reality, he is simply perpetuating a cycle of emotional repression, a cycle that has plagued his own family for generations. The fear of loss is a powerful motivator for Hades. He has witnessed countless souls pass through his realm, each one a reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. He cannot bear the thought of losing Zagreus, of experiencing the pain of parental grief. This fear drives him to make seemingly cruel decisions, to isolate Zagreus, to control his movements, and to suppress his desires. He believes that by keeping Zagreus close, he can protect him from harm. But in doing so, he only pushes Zagreus further away, fueling his rebellion and strengthening his resolve to escape the underworld. He fails to realize that true love requires trust, respect, and the willingness to let go. Hades is a father first, ruler second. His love for Zagreus, however flawed and misguided, is the driving force behind his actions. He is willing to sacrifice his own happiness, his own reputation, and even his own authority in order to protect his son. He is a complex and contradictory figure, capable of both great tenderness and great cruelty. He is a product of his environment, a victim of his own past, and a prisoner of his own fears. But beneath the stern exterior, there is a glimmer of hope, a possibility for growth and change. As Zagreus continues his attempts to escape the underworld, Hades begins to question his own motives and to reevaluate his relationship with his son. He starts to see Zagreus not as an extension of himself, but as an individual with his own unique strengths and desires. He begins to understand that true love means allowing Zagreus to make his own choices, even if those choices lead him away from the underworld. This is not a simple story of redemption. Hades does not suddenly transform into a loving and supportive father, but he does begin to evolve, to learn from his mistakes, and to open himself up to the possibility of a more meaningful connection with Zagreus. But there's another key relationship that profoundly impacts Hades, his bond with Persephone. What happens when the Queen of the Underworld decides to leave? Now, let's explore the most significant relationship in Hades' life, his bond with Persephone. This is a story of love, loss, and the enduring power of absence. Hades' relationship with Persephone is one of the most famous and enduring myths in Greek mythology. It's a tale of abduction, negotiation, and a compromise that forever altered the balance of the seasons. But what is often overlooked is the emotional impact of this relationship on Hades himself. He is not simply a kidnapper or a captor. He is a deeply lonely god who finds solace and companionship in Persephone's presence. Their love story, as unconventional as it may be, is a testament to the power of connection, even in the darkest of circumstances. Persephone brings light and beauty to the underworld, transforming it from a realm of shadows into a place of vibrant life. She challenges Hades' stoicism, forcing him to confront his own emotions and to open himself up to the possibility of joy. She brings laughter and music to his halls, filling the silence with her vibrant energy, but their happiness is short-lived. Persephone is bound to the underworld for only a portion of the year, forced to return to her mother, Demeter, for the remaining months. Her departure plunges Hades back into darkness, leaving him to grapple with the pain of abandonment and the emptiness of her absence. Imagine the desolation he feels as he watches her leave, knowing that he will not see her again for months. The underworld becomes even more bleak and desolate in her absence, a constant reminder of what he has lost. The blood and birthright, delving into Hades' origins, his relationship with his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, the division of the cosmos, and how he came to rule the realm no one else wanted. Understanding the family dynamics that set the stage for his character. Let's rewind then. Let's journey back to the very beginning, before Hades was the stern, unyielding ruler in the game. Before the underworld was his domain, before the souls of the dead became his burden. To truly understand him, we must understand his origins. Hades was not born into darkness. He was born a son of Titans, Chronos and Rhea, powerful beings who ruled the cosmos before the Olympians. He had brothers and sisters, gods who would shape the very fabric of existence. But their childhood was far from idyllic. Chronos, driven by a prophecy that he would be overthrown by his own children, devoured each of them whole at birth. One by one, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon were swallowed into the Titan's insatiable belly. Imagine the darkness, the suffocating pressure, the utter helplessness. For Hades, this was his first experience with confinement, a chilling foreshadowing of the realm he would eventually inherit. Only Zeus, the youngest, escaped this grim fate thanks to Rhea's cunning. He grew in secret, fueled by a burning desire for revenge. And when he was strong enough, he returned to challenge his father Chronos. The ensuing war, the Titanomachy, was a cataclysmic clash that shook the foundations of the cosmos. The Olympians, led by Zeus, battled the Titans for 10 long years, unleashing unimaginable power. Mountains crumbled, oceans boiled, and the very stars trembled. Hades, along with his siblings, was eventually freed from Chronos' stomach. Imagine the disorientation, the sudden rush of light and air after years of darkness. The trauma of that experience must have been profound, shaping his perception of the world and his place within it. With the help of the Cyclopes, who they freed from Tartarus, the Olympians were gifted with weapons of immense power. Zeus received the thunderbolt, Poseidon the trident, and Hades the helm of darkness. This helm, capable of rendering its wearer invisible, became synonymous with Hades. But it also represents something deeper, a desire to remain unseen, to operate from the shadows. Perhaps this was a consequence of his time imprisoned within Chronos, a yearning for control over his own visibility, his own existence. The Olympians, fueled by vengeance and armed with these powerful weapons, ultimately triumphed. Chronos and the Titans were defeated and cast down into Tartarus, the deepest, darkest abyss of the underworld. With the war won, the three brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, faced the daunting task of dividing the cosmos amongst themselves. This was not a simple negotiation, but a cosmic lottery, a gamble that would determine their fates for eternity. They drew lots. Zeus, the eldest and most powerful, claimed the sky, the realm of light and air, becoming the king of the gods. Poseidon drew the sea, the vast turbulent ocean that covered the earth, becoming the god of the seas. And Hades drew the underworld, the realm of the dead, a place of shadows, silence, and eternal gloom, a place no one else wanted. Imagine the weight of that moment. To be assigned to the realm of death, to be forever associated with darkness and despair, was it a punishment, a sign of disrespect, or simply a necessity? A role that someone had to fill. Hades accepted his fate, but it undoubtedly shaped his character. While his brothers ruled over realms of vibrant life and boundless energy, he was relegated to the land of shadows, a constant reminder of mortality and the inevitable end. This division of power also set the stage for the complex dynamics between the three brothers. Zeus, the king, the ruler of the heavens, held the most power and prestige. Poseidon, the god of the sea, commanded the oceans and controlled the tides. Hades, the ruler of the underworld, was often overlooked, feared, and misunderstood. He was the brother who was never invited to the party, the one whose presence made others uncomfortable. He was the necessary evil, the one who dealt with the unpleasant realities of existence. This sense of isolation and marginalization likely contributed to Hades' stern demeanor and his reluctance to interfere in the affairs of the living. Why bother with the fleeting concerns of mortals when he was responsible for the eternal fate of their souls? The underworld itself became an extension of his personality, a reflection of his sense of duty, his unwavering commitment to maintaining order, and his deep-seated fear of chaos. It was a realm of rigid rules and unyielding boundaries, a place where every soul was accounted for and every transgression punished. But was this strictness born of malice, or of a genuine desire to ensure fairness and justice in a realm where such concepts were often absent? Was Hades truly a cold, heartless ruler? Or was he simply a god burdened by an impossible task? Think about it. He was responsible for overseeing the final destination of every mortal soul that had ever lived or ever would live. He had to judge their deeds, determine their fate, and ensure that the balance of the cosmos was maintained. That's a heavy weight to bear. And what of his relationship with Zeus and Poseidon? While they were brothers, bound by blood and shared experiences, there was always a sense of distance, a subtle power dynamic that separated Hades from the others. Zeus, with his thunderbolt and his insatiable appetite for power, often overshadowed his brothers. He was the charismatic leader, the one who commanded attention and respect. Poseidon, with his trident and his volatile temper, was a force of nature, capable of unleashing storms and earthquakes. He was a god of passion and raw emotion. Hades, in contrast, was reserved, stoic, and often perceived as aloof. He lacked the charisma of Zeus and the passion of Poseidon. He was the quiet observer, the one who watched from the shadows, always aware of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. These family dynamics, shaped by their shared history and their differing roles in the cosmos, played a crucial part in shaping Hades' character. He was a god caught between worlds, a brother who was both essential and estranged. His birthright, his blood, his very essence was intertwined with the other Olympians, yet he was forever set apart by his domain, his responsibilities, and his own internal struggles. He was a god defined by his duty, but also by his loneliness. But how did this realm of shadows and silence truly shape him? What secrets does the House of Hades hold, and how does its very architecture reflect the psychology of its master? Next, we delve into the depths of the underworld itself, exploring the environment that molded Hades into the god we know. Chapter 3. The House That Death Built. A detailed exploration of the House of Hades as both a physical space and a reflection of its master's psychology. How the environment shapes and reflects the relationships within, and what it reveals about Hades' true nature. The House of Hades. It's more than just a building. It's an extension of the god himself, a physical manifestation of his psyche, his duties, and his deepest, often unspoken emotions. Think of it as the ultimate reflection of a soul. But what exactly the House of Hades? It's a sprawling, imposing structure, carved deep within the underworld. Imagine endless corridors stretching into the gloom, chambers echoing with the whispers of the dead, and a pervasive atmosphere of solemnity. The architecture itself speaks of order, control, and an unyielding sense of permanence. Nothing is frivolous, nothing is out of place. Every detail, from the obsidian walls to the meticulously arranged artifacts, serves a purpose. And yet, despite its grandeur, the House of Hades feels empty. This emptiness isn't simply a matter of population. It's a deeper, more profound void that permeates every corner of the structure. It's the absence of warmth, of laughter, of the vibrant chaos that defines the mortal world. It's the silence of a place where hope has long since faded, replaced by the cold, hard reality of eternity. Now, consider how this environment shapes the relationships within. Think about the god himself. Hades, the stern, stoic ruler, finds himself surrounded by this very emptiness. Does he create it, or does it create him? It's a question that echoes through the halls of his domain. The isolation of the house reinforces his own sense of detachment, solidifying his role as the unwavering guardian of the underworld. He becomes a prisoner of his own making, bound to a duty that demands emotional sacrifice. Then there are the other inhabitants. Nyx, the primordial goddess of night, dwells in the deepest shadows, her presence adding to the house's mystique and foreboding atmosphere. Thanatos, the personification of death, moves through the halls with quiet efficiency, a constant reminder of the realm's true purpose. The Furies, embodiments of vengeance, stalk the corridors, their chilling cries echoing the suffering of the damned. Each of these figures is shaped by the house, their personalities moulded by its oppressive atmosphere. They are extensions of Hades' will, reflections of his own internal struggles. They are bound to him and to each other by the very walls that contain them. But what does the House of Hades reveal about its master? Look closely, and you'll see hints of a more complex individual beneath the surface. The meticulous order of the house suggests a need for control, a desire to impose structure on a chaotic world. The absence of personal touches speaks to a reluctance to reveal himself, a fear of vulnerability. And yet, there are subtle signs of care, of concern for the well-being of those under his protection. The house provides a sanctuary, a place where the souls of the dead can find solace, however fleeting. Hades, despite his stern demeanor, ensures that the underworld operates with fairness and justice. These contradictions reveal a fundamental truth about Hades. He is a god of immense power, burdened by immense responsibility. He is a ruler who must maintain order in a realm of chaos, a guardian who must protect the souls of the dead, even at the cost of his own happiness. The House of Hades, therefore, is not just a physical structure, it's a window into the soul of its master. It's a reflection of his burdens, his sacrifices, and his hidden depths. It's a place where darkness and light coexist, where order and chaos clash, and where the true nature of a god is slowly, painstakingly revealed. Consider the training grounds, the endless drills, the constant pursuit of strength. What does it mean that Hades permits, even encourages, such displays of martial prowess within his domain? Is it merely a practical measure, ensuring the security of the underworld? Or is it something more? Perhaps it's a way for him to vicariously experience the vitality and passion that he himself has sacrificed in the name of duty. Perhaps it's a subtle act of rebellion against the stifling order he imposes upon himself. And what about the administrative chambers, the heart of the underworld's bureaucracy? Here, shades meticulously record the passage of souls, assigning them to their eternal fates. The sheer scale of this operation is staggering, a testament to the endless flow of death. But it also speaks to Hades' commitment to justice, his unwavering belief in the importance of order, even in the face of overwhelming chaos. The gardens, too, offer a glimpse into the complexities of the house. They are not gardens of beauty and joy, but rather places of somber reflection. Twisted trees and thorny bushes create a landscape of melancholic beauty, a reminder of the impermanence of life. Yet, even here, there is a sense of peace, a quiet acceptance of the inevitable. It's a place where the living can contemplate their mortality, and where the dead can find a moment of respite before embarking on their final journey. Think about the music that echoes through the halls. Not joyous melodies, but somber dirges played on instruments crafted from bone and shadow. These haunting sounds create an atmosphere of perpetual mourning, a constant reminder of the pain and loss that permeate the underworld. But they also serve as a form of catharsis, a way to process the grief that clings to the very walls of the house. And what of the food? The bland, tasteless sustenance that sustains the inhabitants of the underworld? It's a far cry from the vibrant feasts of Olympus, a reflection of the stark realities of death. But it also serves a purpose, reminding the shades that they are no longer among the living, that their earthly desires have faded into nothingness. Even the very air within the House of Hades is different. It's heavy with the scent of decay, tinged with the metallic tang of blood. It's an atmosphere that weighs upon the soul, reminding all who enter of the finality of death. Yet it's also an atmosphere of profound stillness, a place where the noise and distractions of the mortal world fade away, allowing for introspection and contemplation. Consider the impact of the house on Zagreus, Hades' rebellious son. Growing up in such an environment, surrounded by death and duty, undoubtedly shaped his desire to escape. The oppressive atmosphere fueled his longing for the vibrant world above, driving him to defy his father and seek his own destiny. The house, in a sense, became a prison for Zagreus, a symbol of the constraints he sought to break free from. And what about Persephone, the queen of the underworld, whose presence, however fleeting, brought a touch of life and colour to the house? Her influence can be seen in the subtle hints of greenery that she cultivated within its walls, a defiant act of rebellion against the prevailing darkness. Her absence, however, only served to amplify the house's inherent emptiness, leaving a void that even Hades could not ignore. The House of Hades is a place of contradictions, a realm of darkness that also contains glimmers of light. It's a reflection of its master's complex personality, a testament to his burdens, and a stage for the unfolding drama of family, duty, and rebellion. But there's something else, something deeper, hidden within the architecture itself. A secret that speaks to the true nature of Hades' power and the very foundation of his realm. What if the House of Hades isn't just a reflection of its master, but of his power? What if the very structure itself is imbued with the essence of death, amplifying Hades' abilities and solidifying his control over the underworld? Think about it. The obsidian walls, carved from the deepest reaches of the earth, are said to absorb the energy of the souls that pass through them. The endless corridors act as conduits, channeling the power of death throughout the realm. The chambers, each dedicated to a specific aspect of the underworld, serve as focal points for Hades' influence. The administrative chambers, for example, are not just a place of record-keeping, they are a nexus of bureaucratic power where the fates of countless souls are decided. The training grounds are not just a place for combat practice, they are a crucible of martial energy, where the strength and skill of the underworld's warriors are honed to a razor's edge. The gardens, with their somber beauty, are not just a place of reflection, they are a source of melancholic energy, fueling Hades' control over the realm of sorrow. And the throne room, the heart of the house, is the ultimate symbol of Hades' power. It's here that he sits in judgment, dispensing justice and maintaining order. The throne itself is said to be crafted from the bones of ancient titans, imbued with the power of the primordial gods. It's a seat of immense authority, radiating an aura of fear and respect. But what if the house's power is not just a source of strength, but also a source of weakness? What if Hades is so bound to his domain that he cannot truly escape its influence? What if the very walls that protect him also imprison him, preventing him from experiencing the joys and sorrows of the mortal world? This dependence on the house could explain Hades' reluctance to leave the underworld, his aversion to the bright light of Olympus. He is so intertwined with his domain that he cannot function properly outside of it. He is a prisoner of his own power, bound to a duty that demands his constant presence. And this, perhaps, is the greatest tragedy of Hades. He is a god of immense power, but he is also a slave to his own responsibilities. He is a ruler who must maintain order in a realm of chaos, but he is also a prisoner of his own making. He is a figure of fear and respect, but he is also a lonely soul trapped within the walls of his own house. The House of Hades, therefore, is not just a reflection of its master's psychology, it's an integral part of his very being. It's a source of power, a symbol of authority, and a prison of his own making. It's a place of darkness and light, of order and chaos, and of profound, heartbreaking loneliness. But this loneliness, this burden of responsibility, wasn't always the defining characteristic of Hades. To truly understand the weight he carries, we need to delve into his origins, into the very fabric of his birthright, and the choices that led him to claim the throne of the underworld. Because next, we'll explore the blood that binds him to his brothers, and the fateful division of the cosmos that sealed his destiny. Chapter 4. A Father's Love, a Father's Fear. Examining the complex relationship between Hades and Zagreus, how paternal love can become controlling, and the fear of loss that drives seemingly cruel decisions. Understanding Hades as a father first, ruler second. The House of Hades is a reflection, a distorted mirror reflecting the complex relationship between a father and son. But before we delve into the labyrinthine halls and echoing chambers, we must first acknowledge a truth that often gets lost in the grand narratives of gods and monsters. Hades is a father. Not a perfect one, certainly, and perhaps not even a traditionally good one, but a father nonetheless. And like all fathers, divine or mortal, his actions, his decisions, his very being are shaped by the love and perhaps more importantly, the fear he holds for his child. That child, of course, is Zagreus. Now, consider the circumstances of Zagreus' birth, shrouded in mystery, whispered about in hushed tones, even among the denizens of the Underworld. Unlike his Olympian cousins, Zagreus wasn't the result of a casual dalliance, a fleeting fancy of a god seeking earthly pleasures. His existence was different, special, and that difference, that inherent uniqueness, immediately placed a burden on Hades. A burden of expectation, of protection, of a future he may not have envisioned but felt compelled to control. Think about it from Hades' perspective. He is the Lord of the dead, the keeper of souls, the unwavering hand that guides the departed to their final rest. He deals in absolutes, in endings, in the immutable laws of the cosmos. And then into this world of shadows and certainty comes a son. A son who, by all accounts, shouldn't even exist in the way he does. This isn't just about lineage, it's about defying the very nature of the Underworld itself. The Underworld is a place of finality, of stillness. Zagreus, with his fiery spirit and insatiable curiosity, represents a spark of life within the domain of death, a paradox personified. And paradoxes, as Hades knows all too well, are dangerous. They threaten the established order. They unravel the carefully woven tapestry of cosmic balance. So, what does a father do when faced with such a threat, especially when that threat is his own son? He tries to control it. He sets boundaries, he enforces rules, he attempts to mold and shape his son into something manageable, something predictable, something that won't disrupt the delicate equilibrium he has so diligently maintained for eons. But here's the rub. Zagreus is not meant to be controlled. His very essence rebels against confinement, against the suffocating weight of his father's expectations. He is a force of nature, a whirlwind of energy trapped within the rigid structure of the Underworld. And that, my friends, is where the conflict truly begins. It's not simply a matter of a rebellious son defying his stern father. It's a clash of fundamental principles, a battle between order and chaos, between the desire for control and the yearning for freedom. Hades sees Zagreus' repeated attempts to escape the Underworld not just as disobedience, but as a direct threat to everything he holds sacred. Each failed escape, each agonizing return, reinforces his belief that Zagreus needs to be contained, protected from the dangers that lie beyond the House of Hades. But what if those dangers are not external? What if the greatest threat to Zagreus is not the monsters of the surface world, but the stifling embrace of his own father's love? Consider the training sessions, the endless drills, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Are these acts of discipline designed to prepare Zagreus for the challenges ahead? Or are they a means of keeping him close, of preventing him from straying too far from his father's watchful gaze? The line blurs, doesn't it? The intentions become muddied, obscured by layers of paternal concern and a deep-seated fear of loss. And that fear, that gnawing, ever-present anxiety, is the key to understanding Hades' seemingly harsh treatment of his son. He has witnessed firsthand the fleeting nature of existence, the ease with which life can be extinguished. He has seen countless souls pass through his realm, each one a testament to the fragility of mortality. He knows, perhaps better than anyone, how easily things can be taken away. So, he clings to Zagreus with a desperate intensity, a grip so tight it threatens to crush the very spirit he seeks to protect. He builds walls around him, both physical and emotional, believing that confinement is the only way to ensure his son's safety. But in doing so, he inadvertently creates the very thing he fears most, a chasm between them. A distance born not of hatred, but of a love so profound it borders on obsession. Think about the prophecies, the whispers of Zagreus' destiny. Hades, as the Lord of the Dead, is privy to knowledge that remains hidden from others. He may know things about Zagreus' future, about the trials and tribulations he will face that fuel his desire to control his son's path. Perhaps he sees a future where Zagreus is lost, consumed by the dangers of the world above. Perhaps he believes that the only way to prevent such a tragedy is to keep him within the confines of the underworld, safe from harm. But prophecies, as we know, are rarely straightforward. They are often cryptic, open to interpretation, and capable of being self-fulfilling. By trying to control Zagreus's destiny, Hades may be inadvertently pushing him towards the very fate he seeks to avoid. The irony is palpable, isn't it? The Lord of the Dead, the master of fate, is struggling to control the destiny of his own son, only to find that his efforts are ultimately futile. And what about Zagreus's perspective? Imagine being trapped in the shadow of such a powerful figure, constantly scrutinized, endlessly judged. Imagine the pressure of living up to impossible expectations, of being forced to conform to a mold that simply doesn't fit. It's no wonder Zagreus rebels. It's no wonder he seeks escape. He is not simply defying his father. He is fighting for his own identity, for the right to choose his own path, even if that path leads him away from the only home he has ever known. And in his relentless pursuit of freedom, Zagreus forces Hades to confront his own demons, to question his own motives, to examine the true nature of his love. Is it a selfless love, driven by a genuine desire for his son's happiness? Or is it a selfish love, rooted in fear and a need for control? The answer, as with most things in life, is not so simple. It's a complex mixture of both, a tangled web of emotions that even the Lord of the Dead struggles to unravel. But here's the glimmer of hope, the spark of possibility that lies at the heart of their fractured relationship. Hades is capable of change. He is not simply a static figure, an unyielding force of nature. He is a character who can learn, who can grow, who can evolve. And Zagreus, in his own rebellious way, is the catalyst for that transformation. He is the one who challenges Hades' assumptions, who forces him to confront his own limitations, who ultimately shows him the true meaning of love. A love that doesn't seek to control, but to support. A love that doesn't demand obedience, but encourages independence. A love that is willing to let go, even when it hurts. But the journey towards that understanding is long and arduous, fraught with pain, misunderstandings, and the constant threat of loss. And it begins with a single, simple question. Can Hades truly see Zagreus, not as an extension of himself, but as an individual with his own unique desires and aspirations? Can he, the Lord of the Dead, learn to embrace life, to celebrate freedom, to accept the inherent uncertainty of existence? The answer to that question will determine not only the fate of Zagreus, but the fate of the entire house of Hades. It will determine whether their relationship can be salvaged, whether their love can transcend the boundaries of death and despair. And as Zagreus continues his relentless escape attempts, as he faces the trials and tribulations of the surface world, Hades is forced to confront the one thing he has always feared most, the possibility of losing his son. But what if that loss is not the end? What if it's simply a new beginning? What if it's the catalyst for a deeper understanding, a more profound connection, a love that is truly unconditional? To understand this fully, we must delve deeper into the very structure of the House of Hades itself, exploring how its architecture, its inhabitants, and its hidden secrets reflect the evolving dynamics between father and son. Because the House of Hades is not just a place, it's a character in its own right, a silent witness to the unfolding drama of a family struggling to find its way. Chapter 5. The Queen Who Left, exploring Hades' relationship with Persephone, their love story, her departure, and how her absence shaped both Hades and the entire household. The pain of abandonment and the struggle to understand why love sometimes means leaving. Hades' story isn't just about ruling the underworld, it's about the relationships forged and fractured within its shadowy borders. And no relationship is more central, more complex, or more heartbreaking than the one he shared with Persephone. Their story, often told as a tale of abduction and darkness, is far more nuanced. It's a story of longing, of compromise, and ultimately of a love that existed on its own unique terms. But it's also a story of absence, a story of the queen who, for a significant portion of each year, was not there. How did this absence shape Hades, his realm, and the very fabric of the underworld. What does it mean for a god of the dead to experience the pain of separation, the persistent ache of an empty throne? To understand, we have to go back to the beginning, to the whispered accounts of their first meeting. There are many versions, of course. Some paint Hades as a forceful suitor, driven by a desire for beauty and light in his otherwise somber existence. Others suggest a more mutual attraction, a connection sparked by curiosity and a shared understanding of loneliness. Regardless of the precise circumstances, the undeniable truth is that Persephone, daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest, found herself drawn to the Lord of the Underworld. Perhaps it was the allure of the unknown, the promise of a different kind of power. Or maybe it was simply the unexpected kindness she saw beneath his formidable exterior. What we do know is that their courtship, if it could even be called that, was swift and decisive. The details are shrouded in myth, but the result was clear. Persephone descended into the underworld to become Hades' queen. Imagine Demeter's reaction. The goddess of life, of growth, of the bountiful harvest, losing her daughter to the realm of death and shadows. Her grief was so profound, so all-consuming, that the earth itself withered. Crops failed, famine spread, and the world teetered on the brink of destruction. Zeus, ever mindful of maintaining cosmic order, intervened. He brokered a compromise. Persephone would spend a portion of each year in the underworld with Hades, and the remaining time with her mother in the realm of the living. This agreement, born of sorrow and necessity, became the foundation of their unconventional marriage. And so Persephone became the queen of the underworld, a title she held with grace and strength. But her time there was always finite, always marked by the knowledge of her eventual return to the world above. How did this constant cycle of arrival and departure affect her relationship with Hades? The initial years must have been fraught with tension. Hades, a being accustomed to solitude and unwavering authority, suddenly found himself sharing his realm with a vibrant, life-affirming presence. Persephone, torn between her love for her husband and her loyalty to her mother, navigated the complexities of her dual existence. Did they argue? Undoubtedly. Did they struggle to understand each other's perspectives? Almost certainly. But through it all, a bond formed, a connection deepened by shared experiences and the unique challenges they faced. Hades, despite his reputation, was not incapable of love. He may have been reserved, even stoic, but his affection for Persephone was undeniable. He adorned her with jewels from the earth's depths, granted her power over the souls of the dead, and even softened his demeanor in her presence. But here's where the story takes a truly poignant turn. Persephone's departure each year, her return to the sunlight and the warmth of her mother's embrace, left a void in Hades' life that nothing could fill. Consider the implications. He, the lord of the underworld, the god who controlled the very essence of death, was powerless to hold on to the one person who brought light into his existence. He was forced to confront the reality that love, even for a god, comes with the possibility of loss. This annual separation wasn't merely a logistical inconvenience, it was a constant reminder of his own limitations, of his inability to fully possess the one he loved. It was a yearly wound that never truly healed. How did this absence affect the underworld itself? Did the realm grow darker, more desolate in Persephone's absence? Did the souls of the dead feel the chill of Hades' renewed solitude? It's easy to imagine the house of Hades becoming a more somber place, the ever-present gloom deepening with each passing year. The vibrant gardens Persephone cultivated would wither. The laughter that once echoed through the halls would fade, replaced by the mournful silence that had defined the underworld for so long. But perhaps there was something more profound at play. Perhaps Persephone's absence served as a constant reminder of the cycle of life and death, the ebb and flow of existence. Her departure was a symbol of the inevitable transition from light to darkness, from joy to sorrow, and in that sense, it reinforced Hades' role as the guardian of that cycle, the one who maintained the balance between opposing forces. Her absence, as painful as it was, ultimately served a purpose, a cosmic necessity that even he, the lord of the underworld, could not ignore. But what about Persephone herself? How did she reconcile her role as queen of the underworld with her connection to the world above? Did she ever resent her forced separation from her mother? Did she ever question her love for Hades? These are questions that linger in the shadows of their story, questions that hint at the complexities of her own internal struggle. She was not merely a pawn in a divine bargain, she was a powerful goddess in her own right, capable of shaping her own destiny. And perhaps, in her own way, she found a sense of purpose in her dual existence. She brought life to the underworld, a touch of beauty and grace that softened its harsh edges. And she carried the wisdom of the underworld back to the realm of the living, a deeper understanding of the cycle of life and death. But the pain of separation remained, a constant undercurrent in their relationship. It was a pain that both Hades and Persephone had to learn to navigate, to accept as an integral part of their love story. Did Hades ever try to change the terms of the agreement? Did he ever attempt to keep Persephone in the underworld permanently? The myths are silent on this point, but it's not difficult to imagine the temptation he must have felt. But ultimately he respected the boundaries that had been established, the cosmic order that dictated their lives. He understood that true love meant allowing Persephone the freedom to choose, even if that choice meant enduring her absence. And so, the cycle continued, year after year. Persephone would descend into the underworld, bringing light and life to its shadowy depths. And then, as the seasons changed, she would return to the world above, leaving Hades to grapple with the familiar ache of loneliness. But it was a loneliness tempered by the knowledge that her return was inevitable, that their love, however unconventional, would endure. And in that enduring love, there was a glimmer of hope, a promise of renewal that even the Lord of the Underworld could cling to. The absence of Persephone wasn't just a personal tragedy for Hades, it reshaped the entire underworld. It influenced his decisions, his interactions, and even his perception of time itself. It was a constant reminder of the fragility of happiness, the inevitability of loss, and the enduring power of love. But the question remains, how did this repeated experience of loss transform Hades' understanding of himself and his role in the cosmos? Did it make him more compassionate, more empathetic, or did it simply reinforce his stoicism and his detachment? The answer, as we'll discover, lies in examining his relationships with those who remained in the underworld, those who formed a surrogate family in the absence of his queen. Because next, we delve into Hades' inner circle, exploring how he forged connections with Nyx, Thanatos, the Furies, and the other denizens of his shadowy realm. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Chapter 6: Servants, Subjects and Family. Analyzing Hades' relationships with Nyx, Thanatos, the Furies, and other inhabitants of his realm. How he creates family from duty, and finds connection in the most unlikely places, revealing his capacity for care beneath his stern exterior. Hades might rule a kingdom of the dead, but he isn't alone. The underworld is populated, not just with shades, but with beings who owe him service, loyalty, and in some cases, something far deeper. These relationships, often born of duty or circumstance, reveal a side of Hades rarely glimpsed, a capacity for care, a need for connection, even a kind of paternal affection. Let's start with Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night. Older than even the Olympians, Nyx predates almost everything. Her power is immense, her influence undeniable. She resides within the house of Hades, a silent, watchful presence. But she isn't a prisoner, nor is she simply a servant. Her relationship with Hades is more complex, a blend of respect, perhaps even a form of familial bond. Think about it. Hades, burdened with the responsibility of the underworld, needs stability, reliability. Nyx, with her ancient wisdom and unwavering presence, provides just that. She is the bedrock upon which the house of Hades is built, a constant in a realm of constant change. It's a relationship of mutual benefit, yes, but also one of quiet understanding. They are both solitary figures, each carrying the weight of their respective domains. In each other they find a silent solace, a shared understanding of the burdens of power. Then there's Thanatos, the personification of death. Cool, detached and efficient, Thanatos is Hades' right-hand man, the one who escorts souls to their final destination. He seems like a mere extension of Hades' will, a tool to be used. But is that all there is to their relationship? Consider this. Thanatos is not a mindless automaton. He has his own sense of duty, his own code of honor. He respects Hades not out of fear, but out of a shared understanding of the importance of their work. They are both guardians of a delicate balance, ensuring that the cycle of life and death continues uninterrupted. And while Thanatos may appear emotionless, there are hints of something more beneath the surface. He offers advice, expresses opinions, even displays a flicker of concern for Zagreus, Hades' son. These subtle moments suggest a deeper connection, a sense of loyalty that goes beyond mere servitude. Perhaps, in his own way, Thanatos is part of Hades' unconventional family, a figure he trusts and relies upon. What about the Furies? These vengeful goddesses, tasked with punishing those who have committed unspeakable crimes, are terrifying to behold. They are the embodiment of justice, relentless and unforgiving. Their presence in the house of Hades reinforces the idea of the underworld as a place of punishment and suffering. But look closer. The Furies are not simply instruments of Hades' wrath. They are independent entities, bound to him by duty, yes, but also by a shared commitment to upholding cosmic order. They believe in justice, in holding wrongdoers accountable. In a way, they are an extension of Hades' own sense of responsibility, his dedication to maintaining balance in the universe. Furthermore, consider their interactions with Zagreus. While they are initially hostile, they gradually warm to him as he proves his worth. They offer him advice, assistance, even a grudging respect. This suggests that they are capable of empathy, of recognizing genuine goodness, even in the son of the Lord of the Underworld. They are not simply mindless agents of vengeance, they are complex characters with their own motivations and beliefs. These relationships, these connections forged in the depths of the Underworld, reveal a crucial aspect of Hades' character, his ability to create family from duty. He may not be a warm or demonstrative figure, but he surrounds himself with individuals he trusts, individuals who share his values and his commitment to maintaining order. He provides them with purpose, with a place in his realm, and in return they offer him their loyalty and support. It's a far cry from the image of the solitary, brooding god we often see portrayed. Hades is not alone in his darkness. He has built a community around him, a network of relationships that sustains him and allows him to fulfill his immense responsibilities. Consider the shades themselves, the countless souls who dwell in the underworld. While Hades doesn't necessarily have personal relationships with each and every one of them, he is responsible for their well-being. He ensures that they are judged fairly, that they are assigned to their appropriate place in the afterlife. He provides them with a structured existence, a sense of order in the face of oblivion. This is not the work of a cruel or indifferent tyrant. It is the work of a responsible ruler, one who takes his duties seriously, even when those duties involve managing the endless flow of souls into the underworld. He is the shepherd of the dead, guiding them through the afterlife and ensuring that they find their place in the cosmic order. And what about Cerberus, the three-headed dog who guards the gates of the underworld? He is more than just a fearsome guardian. He is a loyal companion, a constant presence in Hades' life. Think about it. Hades spends his days surrounded by the dead, by the somber atmosphere of the underworld. Cerberus provides him with a spark of life, a reminder of the world above. He is a creature of instinct, of loyalty, of unconditional love. He doesn't judge Hades, he doesn't question his decisions. He simply offers his unwavering support, a comforting presence in a realm of darkness and despair. In a way, Cerberus is Hades' most faithful friend, a testament to his capacity for connection, even with the most unlikely of creatures. These relationships, these connections forged in the depths of the underworld, paint a more nuanced picture of Hades. He is not simply the Lord of the Dead, he is a ruler, a provider, a leader, and in his own way, a father figure. He creates family from duty, finding connection in the most unlikely of places. But why does he hide this side of himself? Why does he project such an intimidating image? What purpose does his stern exterior serve? To understand that, we need to delve into the mask of authority, the persona Hades presents to the world, and the reasons why he feels compelled to keep his vulnerabilities hidden. Chapter 7. The Mask of Authority, understanding how Hades uses his intimidating presence as both protection and barrier. Exploring the performance of power and how vulnerability becomes a luxury he cannot afford in his position. Hades, the stern judge of the underworld, the unyielding ruler of the dead. It's a role he inhabits with a chilling effectiveness, a persona seemingly carved from the very bedrock of his dark domain. But how much of that fearsome presence is genuine, and how much is carefully constructed? How much of it is a mask? Think about it. The underworld is a realm of immense power, but also immense vulnerability. The souls of the dead, the secrets they carry, the potential for chaos, all of it falls under Hades' purview. He is the ultimate gatekeeper, the final arbiter. Can he afford to show weakness? Can he allow even a glimpse of doubt or fear to surface? The answer, quite simply, is no. His intimidating presence is his first line of defense, a psychological barrier erected to maintain order and control. It's a shield against the endless tide of souls, a deterrent against those who might seek to exploit the vulnerabilities of his realm. Imagine the chaos if Hades, the unflinching ruler, were suddenly perceived as soft, as someone easily swayed. The delicate balance of the cosmos would be thrown into disarray. This performance of power, this carefully cultivated image, is not merely a matter of vanity or ego. It's a necessity. It's the very foundation upon which his rule rests. He must project an aura of absolute authority, an unwavering resolve that leaves no room for questioning or dissent. It's a role he plays flawlessly, day in and day out, for millennia. But what does it cost him? What does it mean to constantly wear this mask, to suppress his own emotions and vulnerabilities in the name of duty? What is the price of eternal vigilance? Consider the weight of expectation. Every decision Hades makes, every judgment he renders is scrutinized, not just by the denizens of the underworld, but by the gods themselves. He is held to an impossibly high standard, a standard that demands absolute impartiality, unwavering strength, and an almost inhuman level of control. The pressure to maintain this facade is immense. It requires constant vigilance, a relentless suppression of any emotion that might be perceived as weakness. It's a lonely existence, one where genuine connection becomes a luxury he can scarcely afford. Think about the implications. To truly connect with someone, to build a meaningful relationship, requires vulnerability. It requires opening yourself up, sharing your fears and insecurities, allowing someone to see you for who you truly are, flaws and all. But for Hades, such vulnerability is a risk he cannot take. To reveal his true self, to let down his guard, would be to expose a chink in his armor, an opening that could be exploited by his enemies. It would be to jeopardize the stability of the underworld, and perhaps even the cosmos itself. And so he remains aloof, distant, a figure shrouded in shadow and mystery. He interacts with others primarily through intermediaries, relying on his servants and advisors to carry out his will. He keeps his own counsel, rarely confiding in anyone, bearing the weight of his responsibilities alone. This isolation, this emotional detachment, is not a reflection of his true nature, but rather a consequence of his position. It's a sacrifice he makes in the name of duty, a burden he carries willingly, albeit perhaps not happily. But what about those rare moments when the mask slips? What about those fleeting glimpses of vulnerability that peek through the cracks in his carefully constructed facade? What do they reveal about the man, or rather, the god, beneath the crown? Perhaps you've noticed a flicker of sadness in his eyes when he speaks of Persephone, a hint of regret in his voice when he addresses Zagreus. These are not calculated gestures, not deliberate attempts to manipulate or deceive. They are genuine expressions of emotion, fleeting moments of humanity that betray the true depth of his character. They are reminders that beneath the stern exterior, beneath the mask of authority, there lies a being capable of love, of compassion, of profound sorrow. They are glimpses of the god who was forced to bury his own heart in order to fulfill his duty. And it's in these moments, in these brief flashes of vulnerability, that we begin to see the true tragedy of Hades. He is not a monster, not a villain, but a prisoner of his own making, trapped by the weight of his responsibilities, bound by the chains of his own authority. He is a god who has sacrificed his own happiness, his own emotional well-being, for the sake of order and stability. He is a ruler who has chosen duty over love, responsibility over freedom. He is a testament to the immense burden of power, the crushing weight of expectation, and the profound loneliness of leadership. Think about his interactions with the other gods. Zeus, his brother, the king of Olympus, revels in the adulation of mortals, basking in the glory of his own power. Poseidon, the god of the sea, commands the oceans with a boisterous energy, embracing the chaos and unpredictability of his domain. But Hades? He remains apart, a silent observer, a brooding presence on the fringes of the Olympian court. He doesn't seek their approval, doesn't crave their attention. He simply performs his duty diligently and without complaint, content to remain in the shadows. He is the outcast, the forgotten brother, the one who drew the short straw and was condemned to rule the realm that no one else wanted. And yet, he does so with a quiet dignity, a stoic resolve that commands respect even if it doesn't inspire affection. He is the ultimate pragmatist, a god who understands the necessity of order, the importance of rules, and the consequences of chaos. He is not driven by ambition or greed, but by a deep-seated sense of responsibility, a commitment to maintaining the delicate balance of the cosmos. And so, he wears the mask of authority, not as a means of self-aggrandizement, but as a tool, a necessary instrument for carrying out his duty. It's a shield that protects him from the vulnerabilities of his own heart, a barrier that keeps the chaos of the underworld at bay. But what happens when that mask begins to crack? What happens when the weight of his responsibilities becomes too much to bear? What happens when the loneliness and isolation finally begin to take their toll? The answer, perhaps, lies in the relationships he forges within his own domain, the bonds he forms with his servants, his subjects, and even his adopted family. It's in these connections, in these unlikely alliances, that we begin to see the glimmer of hope, the possibility of redemption, the potential for change. Consider his relationship with Nyx, the primordial goddess of night. She is a powerful and enigmatic figure, a being of immense wisdom and ancient knowledge. She is also one of the few beings in the underworld who seems to understand Hades, who sees beyond the mask of authority to the vulnerable god beneath. She serves as his confidant, his advisor, and perhaps even his friend. She offers him counsel, provides him with support, and reminds him that even in the darkest of realms there is still room for hope. Then there's Thanatos, the god of death, Hades' loyal servant and trusted companion. Thanatos is a complex and multifaceted character, a being who embodies both the cold indifference of death and the quiet compassion of a caregiver. He is a reflection of Hades himself, a mirror that reflects both the darkness and the light within his master's soul. He is a constant reminder that even in the face of death there is still beauty, still meaning, still purpose. And let's not forget the Furies, the Erinyes, the avenging goddesses who relentlessly pursue those who have committed unspeakable crimes. They are the embodiment of justice, the guardians of moral order, and the enforcers of divine law. They are also fiercely loyal to Hades, respecting his authority and upholding his decrees. They represent the unwavering commitment to justice that lies at the heart of his rule. These relationships, these connections, are not merely transactional or utilitarian. They are born out of mutual respect, shared purpose, and a deep-seated sense of loyalty. They are evidence that even in the most desolate of realms, even in the heart of the most stoic of gods, there is still room for connection, for compassion, for love. And it's through these relationships that Hades begins to learn the true meaning of leadership. He begins to understand that true authority is not about wielding power, but about inspiring loyalty. It's not about demanding obedience, but about earning respect. It's about creating a community, a family, a network of support that can withstand the challenges of eternity. It's about recognizing the humanity, or rather the divinity in others, and fostering a sense of belonging even in the realm of the dead. But the journey is not without its setbacks. The mask of authority is not easily shed, and the fear of vulnerability is not easily overcome. There are moments of doubt, moments of weakness, moments when Hades reverts to his old ways, retreating behind his defenses, shutting himself off from the world. And it's in these moments that the true struggle of his character is revealed. He is not a god who is simply destined to be stern and unyielding. He is a god who is actively fighting against his own nature, striving to become something more, something better. He is a god who is learning to trust, to communicate, to allow himself to be vulnerable, even in the face of immense risk. He is a god who is slowly, painfully learning to love. But how does this transformation truly unfold? How does Hades reconcile his duty with his desire for connection? How does he learn to let go of the mask of authority and embrace the vulnerability that lies beneath? The answer, as you might suspect, is not simple. It's a process of trial and error, of painful self-reflection, and of gradual, incremental change. It's a journey that is fraught with challenges, but ultimately, it's a journey that leads to redemption. However, before we can fully understand the depth of Hades' transformation, we must first delve into the complexities of his relationship with Persephone, the queen who left. For it is in her absence, in the void she left behind, that we truly begin to understand the pain of abandonment and the struggle to comprehend why love sometimes necessitates letting go. Chapter 8: Lessons in Loss and Letting Go. Following Hades' character development throughout the game, his gradual learning to trust, to communicate, and to allow those he loves their freedom. The painful but necessary growth of a god learning to be human. Hades, the unyielding ruler of the Underworld, a figure seemingly carved from granite and shadow. He wasn't always this way, was he? The events of the game, Zagreus' repeated escapes, Persephone's absence, these were all chisels slowly shaping the god we come to know, and perhaps even understand. Think back to the initial encounters. A stern, almost dismissive father focused solely on maintaining order. Communication was terse, often laced with disapproval. There was a wall, an impenetrable fortress built of duty and perhaps something more. But what was he truly protecting? Was it just the realm, or was it himself? Zagreus' relentless attempts to leave the Underworld, each failure and each brief reunion with his mother, chipped away at that facade. With every escape attempt, Hades was forced to confront not only his son's defiance, but also the reasons behind it. He saw the pain, the yearning for something more, something he himself seemed incapable of providing. Consider the boons, the gifts offered by the Olympian gods to Zagreus. These weren't just gameplay mechanics, they were a reflection of the relationships forming, or rather reforming, outside the Underworld. Each boon from Zeus, Poseidon, or Athena was a whisper of acceptance, a sign that Zagreus was finding his place, even if that place wasn't at his father's side. And Hades, watching from the shadows, couldn't help but notice. He saw the potential for connection, for something beyond the rigid structure he had built. The question then becomes, how does a god, accustomed to absolute control, begin to loosen his grip? How does he learn to trust, to communicate, and to let go? The key, perhaps, lies in loss. Hades, more than any other Olympian, understands the permanence of loss. He is the custodian of the dead, the silent witness to countless farewells. But until Zagreus' repeated departures, he hadn't truly experienced the loss, the agonizing uncertainty of whether a loved one would ever return. Each time Zagreus reached the surface, each time he was inevitably forced back to the house of Hades, it was a miniature death, a temporary severing of the bond between father and son. And with each cycle, Hades was forced to confront the possibility that Zagreus might one day choose to stay away, to forge a life beyond the Underworld's reach. This fear, this constant threat of losing his son, became a catalyst for change. It forced him to reevaluate his priorities, to question the very foundations upon which he had built his existence. Was maintaining order worth sacrificing his relationship with his son? Was his fear of chaos blinding him to the possibility of genuine connection? You see glimpses of this shift in his dialogue. The curt pronouncements become slightly less harsh, the criticisms a little less frequent. He starts to offer advice, even encouragement, albeit in his own gruff way. He begins to acknowledge Zagreus' efforts, to recognize his strength and determination. This isn't a sudden transformation, mind you. Hades is not one for grand gestures or emotional outbursts. His growth is subtle, incremental, like the slow erosion of stone by water. But it's there, a quiet undercurrent beneath the surface of his stoic demeanor. Think about the conversations with the other inhabitants of the House of Hades. Nyx, Thanatos, even Cerberus. They all serve as mirrors, reflecting different facets of Hades' personality. Through their interactions with Zagreus and their subtle commentary on Hades' actions, we gain a deeper understanding of the man beneath the god. Nyx, in particular, plays a crucial role. As Zagreus' adoptive mother, she offers guidance and support, often acting as a mediator between father and son. She understands Hades' fears, his insecurities, and she gently nudges him towards a more open and compassionate approach. Thanatos, the embodiment of death itself, provides a different perspective. He sees the futility of resisting fate, the importance of accepting loss as an inevitable part of life. His stoicism, while seemingly cold, is ultimately a form of acceptance, a recognition of the natural order. Even Cerberus, the three-headed hound, offers a silent form of companionship. His unwavering loyalty and affection for Zagreus serve as a constant reminder of the power of unconditional love, a concept that Hades struggles to grasp. The relationships within the House of Hades, therefore, become a microcosm of the challenges Hades faces in his relationship with Zagreus. They highlight his inability to express his emotions, his fear of vulnerability, and his struggle to let go of control. But as Zagreus continues his journey, Hades begins to learn from these interactions. He sees the value of connection, the importance of empathy, and the power of forgiveness. He starts to understand that true strength lies not in suppressing emotions, but in embracing them. Consider the moment when Hades finally acknowledges Zagreus' desire to see Persephone. It's a small gesture perhaps, but it speaks volumes about his changing perspective. He sets aside his own pride, his own resentment towards Persephone, and allows Zagreus to pursue his own path. This isn't just about letting Zagreus go, it's about letting go of his own past, his own pain. It's about accepting that Persephone made her own choices and that he cannot control her destiny or Zagreus's. This acceptance is a crucial step in Hades' development. It allows him to move beyond his bitterness and resentment, to see Persephone not as a betrayer but as an individual with her own agency. And as he releases his grip on the past, he creates space for new possibilities, new connections. He begins to see the potential for reconciliation, not just with Persephone, but with his own family, his own brothers, Zeus and Poseidon. The game subtly hints at this possibility. The occasional boon from Zeus, the rare acknowledgement from Poseidon, these are small signs of a thawing relationship, a tentative reaching out across the divide. Hades, of course, remains cautious. He is not one to rush into anything, especially after centuries of isolation and resentment. But the seeds of change have been planted, and they are slowly beginning to sprout. He begins to understand that true leadership isn't about absolute control, but about empowering others. It's about creating an environment where individuals can thrive, where they can pursue their own passions and fulfill their own potential. He sees this in Zagreus, in his unwavering determination to reach Persephone, in his willingness to defy his father's expectations. And he realizes that his role as a father is not to stifle Zagreus' ambition, but to support him, to guide him, and to protect him from harm. This shift in perspective is not without its challenges. Hades still struggles with his own insecurities, his own fears. He still finds it difficult to express his emotions, to open himself up to vulnerability. But he is making progress, slowly but surely. He is learning to trust, to communicate, and to let go. He is becoming a more compassionate, more understanding, and ultimately a more human god. The painful truth is, Hades is not merely a ruler of the dead. He is a father grappling with loss, a husband struggling with abandonment, and a god learning to navigate the complexities of human emotion. He is a testament to the fact that even the most seemingly unyielding individuals can change, can grow, and can find redemption, even in the darkest of circumstances. His journey is a reminder that it's never too late to learn, to forgive, and to love. As Zagreus finds his own path, Hades finds his own humanity. He learns that love doesn't always mean holding on tight. Sometimes it means letting go, allowing those we care about to make their own choices, even if those choices lead them away from us. This is a difficult lesson, a painful lesson, but it's a necessary one. And as Hades embraces this lesson, he begins to heal, to grow, and to become the god he was always meant to be. But this transformation, This slow and arduous journey towards self-discovery begs an important question. How did the other residents of the House of Hades react to this change? How did they adapt to a less authoritarian, more compassionate ruler? That is the focus of our next exploration. Chapter 9. The Weight of Eternity. Examining how immortality affects Hades' perspective, his relationship with time, change, and the fear of eternal loneliness. Understanding how an infinite lifespan can make every loss feel catastrophic. Imagine living not just for decades or even centuries, but for eternity. What does that do to a person, to a god? How does it warp their perspective, their understanding of time, of change, of loss? With Hades, the crushing weight of immortality etched onto his very being. His brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, experience time differently. Their domains, the sky and the sea, are constantly in motion, ever-changing. New storms brew, tides ebb and flow, and the sun rises and sets without fail. But Hades, he resides in a realm of static finality. The underworld is a place of echoes, of souls trapped in the amber of their past lives. It's a place where time seems to stand still, or perhaps it simply loses all meaning. Think about it. How would you measure a day when there's no sun? How would you track the seasons when the trees never bloom, never shed their leaves? For Hades, 1 century might feel like a single, drawn-out afternoon. 1,000 years could pass in what seemed like a blink. This distorted perception of time profoundly impacts his understanding of the world and the mortals who briefly flicker within it. Mortals, with their fleeting lives, might seem inconsequential, like mayflies buzzing around a titan. Their hopes, their dreams, their loves, their losses, all compressed into a mere blip on the vast timeline of eternity. Can you truly empathize with a being whose entire existence is shorter than a single one of your memories? Can you genuinely grasp the urgency of their desires when you know, with absolute certainty, that they will all eventually fade away? This isn't to say that Hades is incapable of feeling. Far from it. But his emotions are filtered through the lens of eternity, tinged with a certain detachment, a sense of inevitable decay. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end of every mortal life, often simultaneously. He knows how every story concludes, which makes it difficult to invest fully in the present moment. And what about change? For mortals, change is a constant, often unwelcome companion. We adapt, we evolve, we learn from our mistakes, and we grow old. But for an immortal like Hades, change is a rare and disruptive force. He's already seen everything that can happen in the underworld. He's witnessed countless souls pass through its gates, each with their own unique story, but all ultimately sharing the same fate. This lack of novelty can lead to a kind of stagnation, a resistance to anything that threatens to disrupt the established order. Why bother trying something new when you already know how it will end? Why risk upheaval when the current system, however imperfect, has endured for millennia? This is why Hades often appears so rigid, so unyielding. He's not necessarily cruel or malicious. He's simply trying to maintain stability in a realm where chaos constantly threatens to erupt. He's a warden, guarding against the endless cycle of birth and death spilling into other realms. But perhaps the most devastating consequence of immortality is the fear of eternal loneliness. Imagine being the last person you know, watching everyone you love wither and die again and again. Imagine carrying the weight of countless memories, knowing that no one else can truly understand what you've experienced. Hades, in his role as the ruler of the underworld, is inherently isolated. He's separated from the world of the living, from the warmth of the sun, from the joys of companionship. He's surrounded by the dead, by shades and spectres, but true connection is elusive. How can you form a meaningful bond with someone who is no longer truly alive? This loneliness is compounded by his divine nature. He's not just a ruler, he's a god, a being of immense power and responsibility. He can't simply abandon his duties or seek solace in the arms of a mortal lover. He's bound to his role, to his realm, for all eternity. And what about his family? His brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, have their own domains, their own concerns. They can visit him in the underworld, but they can never truly understand his existence. They can't comprehend the crushing weight of his responsibilities, the relentless monotony of his days, the gnawing fear of eternal loneliness. Even Persephone, his queen, is only with him for a portion of the year. Her departure each spring leaves a void in his life, a reminder of the fleeting nature of happiness. He knows that she will eventually return, but that knowledge doesn't diminish the pain of her absence. It only serves to highlight the cyclical nature of his existence, the endless repetition of joy and sorrow. Think about the implications for his relationship with Zagreus. A father's love, amplified by an immortal's lifespan, can become suffocating, overprotective. Hades, knowing the dangers that lurk in the mortal world, might try to shield his son from any potential harm. But in doing so, he risks stifling Zagreus's growth, preventing him from experiencing the joys and sorrows that make life worth living. And what about the fear of loss? For a mortal, death is a finite event. It's a tragedy, yes, but it's also an end. But for an immortal like Hades, death is a recurring nightmare. He sees souls pass through his realm every day, each one representing a life cut short, a potential unfulfilled. He knows that he will inevitably lose loved ones again and again throughout eternity. This fear can manifest in different ways. It can lead to possessiveness, a desire to cling to those he loves. It can also lead to detachment, a way of protecting himself from the pain of loss. He might push people away not because he doesn't care, but because he can't bear the thought of losing them. This is the paradox of immortality. It grants unimaginable power and longevity, but it also comes with a heavy price. The weight of eternity can crush even the strongest of souls, leaving them isolated, detached, and perpetually haunted by the fear of loss. It's no wonder Hades appears so stern, so unapproachable. He's carrying a burden that no mortal could ever comprehend. He's a god trapped in a realm of death, forever grappling with the consequences of his own immortality. He sees the grand sweep of history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the endless cycle of life and death. And in that vast panorama, he can feel profoundly, achingly alone. But perhaps there's another way to look at it. Perhaps immortality also offers the opportunity for growth, for learning, for ultimately transcending the limitations of one's own nature. Perhaps Hades, despite his initial resistance, can learn to embrace change, to value the fleeting moments of joy, and to find meaning in the face of eternal loneliness. After all, even gods can evolve. Even rulers of the underworld can learn to love, to forgive, and to let go. But to understand how Hades begins to break free from the shackles of his own immortality, we must examine his relationships with those who serve him, those who are bound to him by duty and loyalty. How does he create a family from these disparate souls? And what does this reveal about his capacity for care, hidden beneath the mask of authority? I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Chapter 10, Redemption in the Darkness, exploring Hades' journey toward reconciliation with his family, his growth as a character, and the possibility of change, even for the most set-in-their-ways individuals. How love can heal even ancient wounds. The house of Hades wasn't built in a day, and neither was the possibility of reconciliation within it. For a god seemingly so entrenched in his ways, the journey towards understanding and acceptance was a long and arduous one. But within the darkness of the underworld flickered the embers of hope, fueled by love and the persistent desire for connection. You see, redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about acknowledging it, learning from it, and choosing a different path forward. And for Hades, that path was paved with difficult conversations, painful self-reflection, and the willingness to relinquish control. Think about it. For millennia, Hades had operated under the assumption that his way was the only way. His decisions, however harsh they seemed, were always made with the best interests of the underworld in mind, or so he told himself. But the arrival of Zagreus and his relentless attempts to break free forced Hades to confront the flaws in his own logic. Each failed escape attempt, each heated argument, chipped away at the god's carefully constructed facade. He saw in Zagreus a reflection of his own stubbornness, his own inability to express vulnerability. And perhaps, more importantly, he saw a desperate longing for connection, a longing that mirrored his own. The turning point, of course, wasn't a single event, but a gradual shift in perspective. It was the quiet moments shared between father and son, the unspoken understanding that transcended their differences. It was witnessing Zagreus's unwavering determination to help others, his compassion for the souls trapped within the underworld. These moments planted seeds of doubt in Hades's mind. Was he truly serving the greater good by adhering to such rigid rules? Was his fear of chaos blinding him to the potential for growth and change? The answer, as he slowly began to realize, was yes. But admitting this truth was only the first step. The real challenge lay in dismantling the walls he had built around himself, in opening himself up to the possibility of forgiveness. And that meant confronting his past, acknowledging his mistakes, and apologizing to those he had wronged. Imagine the weight of those words, "I'm sorry," coming from the lips of a god who had rarely, if ever, uttered them before. They were heavy with regret, with the accumulated burden of centuries of isolation, but they were also laced with hope, with the promise of a future where love and understanding could triumph over fear and resentment. The first, and perhaps most crucial, reconciliation was with Zagreus. It wasn't a grand theatrical affair, but a quiet, heartfelt conversation. Hades acknowledged his mistakes, his controlling nature, his inability to express his love. He admitted that his fear of losing Zagreus had driven him to act in ways that were ultimately harmful. And Zagreus, in turn, offered his forgiveness. He understood the weight of his father's responsibilities, the pressures that had shaped him into the stern figure he was. He recognized the love that lay beneath the surface, however buried it may have been. This reconciliation paved the way for others. Hades began to see the inhabitants of his realm not as subjects to be controlled, but as individuals deserving of compassion and respect. He listened to their stories, acknowledged their pain, and sought to alleviate their suffering whenever possible. He even began to mend fences with his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon. The relationship between the three brothers had always been strained, fraught with rivalry and resentment. But through Zagreus's persistent efforts, they began to find common ground, to appreciate each other's strengths, and to acknowledge their shared history. These conversations weren't easy. Old wounds were reopened, old grievances were aired. But with each exchange, a little more understanding was gained, a little more forgiveness was offered, and slowly, painstakingly, the bonds of brotherhood began to heal. Of course, the most significant reconciliation of all was with Persephone. Her departure had left a gaping hole in Hades's heart, a wound that had never fully healed. He had blamed her, resented her, and spent centuries trying to understand why she had left. But through Zagreus, he began to see things from her perspective. He realized that his controlling nature, his inability to let go, had ultimately driven her away. He understood that she needed to forge her own path, to experience the world outside the underworld, to find her own purpose. Their reunion wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were still wounds to heal and challenges to overcome. But it was a start. They began to communicate, to share their feelings, to understand each other's needs. And slowly, tentatively, they began to rebuild their relationship, brick by brick. The House of Hades, once a symbol of isolation and despair, became a place of healing and reconciliation. It was a testament to the power of love, the importance of forgiveness, and the possibility of change, even for the most set-in-their-ways individuals. You see, redemption isn't about becoming perfect, it's about striving to be better. It's about acknowledging our flaws, learning from our mistakes, and choosing to act with compassion and understanding. And for Hades, that journey was just beginning. His growth wasn't linear, of course. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, and old habits that were hard to break. But with each challenge, he grew stronger, more resilient, and more committed to the path of reconciliation. He learned to trust others, to delegate responsibilities, and to relinquish control. He realized that true strength wasn't about wielding power, but about empowering others. And he discovered that the greatest rewards came not from ruling with an iron fist, but from leading with compassion and understanding. The underworld, under Hades' guidance, began to transform. It became a place of rehabilitation, where souls could find solace, heal their wounds, and prepare for their next journey. It was a place where forgiveness was offered, where redemption was possible, and where even the darkest of souls could find a glimmer of hope. And Hades, the once feared and misunderstood ruler, became a symbol of transformation. He showed that even the most entrenched individuals could change, that even the deepest wounds could heal, and that even in the darkest of places, love and understanding could prevail. His journey was a testament to the human, or rather, the divine capacity for growth and change. It demonstrated that no one is beyond redemption, that everyone deserves a second chance, and that even the most seemingly insurmountable obstacles can be overcome with perseverance and compassion. So, the next time you think of Hades, don't just picture a dark and malevolent figure. Remember the journey he undertook, the challenges he faced, and the transformation he achieved. Remember the God who learned to love, to forgive, and to embrace the possibility of change. Because within that story lies a powerful message that even in the darkest of places, redemption is always possible. And that message, perhaps more than any other, is what makes Hades' story so compelling and so relevant to our own lives. What's crucial here is the lasting impact of these changes. Hades' redemption wasn't just a personal victory, it had ripple effects throughout the underworld and beyond. It challenged the established order, questioned long-held beliefs, and opened up new possibilities for the future. Consider the Furies, for example. These fearsome goddesses of vengeance had always been fiercely loyal to Hades, carrying out his judgments with ruthless efficiency. But as Hades began to embrace forgiveness and compassion, the Furies found themselves questioning their own roles. Were they truly serving justice by inflicting pain and suffering, or were they simply perpetuating a cycle of violence and retribution? Hades, recognizing their internal conflict, encouraged them to explore their own sense of justice. He empowered them to make their own decisions, to choose compassion over vengeance, and to find new ways to serve the greater good. This transformation wasn't easy for the Furies. It required them to confront their own biases, to challenge their long-held beliefs, and to embrace a new way of thinking. But with Hades' support, they were able to evolve, to become agents of healing and reconciliation, rather than simply instruments of punishment. Similarly, Thanatos, the personification of death, found himself questioning his own role in the underworld. He had always viewed death as an end, a finality. But as Hades began to embrace the possibility of rebirth and renewal, Thanatos began to see death as a transition, a necessary part of the cycle of life. He started to approach his duties with more compassion, offering comfort and guidance to the souls he escorted to the underworld. He helped them to process their grief, to find peace in their passing, and to prepare for their next journey. These changes, both big and small, transformed the atmosphere of the underworld. It became a place of hope, a place of healing, and a place where even the most lost souls could find their way. And Hades, the god who had once been feared and misunderstood, became a beacon of light in the darkness. He showed that even the most entrenched individuals could change, that even the deepest wounds could heal, and that even in the most seemingly hopeless situations, redemption is always possible. But the story doesn't end there. The ripples of Hades' transformation continued to spread, reaching beyond the underworld and impacting the lives of mortals and gods alike. His journey served as a reminder that forgiveness is always possible, that love can conquer even the darkest of hearts, and that even the most set in their ways individuals can find redemption. And that, perhaps, is the most important lesson of all. The journey of Hades is a potent reminder that change is always possible, even for those who seem most resistant to it. His transformation wasn't a sudden event, but a gradual process of self-reflection, learning, and growth. It required him to confront his own flaws, acknowledge his mistakes, and embrace the possibility of a different future. And that's a message that resonates deeply with us all. Because we all have our own flaws, our own mistakes, and our own areas where we need to grow. And Hades' story reminds us that it's never too late to change, to learn, and to become better versions of ourselves. His journey is a testament to the power of love, the importance of forgiveness, and the possibility of redemption. It's a story that inspires us to be more compassionate, more understanding, and more willing to give others a second chance. And perhaps most importantly, it's a story that reminds us that even in the darkest of times there is always hope. So, as we reflect on Hades' journey, let us remember the lessons he taught us, that change is possible, that forgiveness is powerful, and that even in the depths of despair, redemption is always within reach. But the process of change, especially for someone as ancient and powerful as Hades, wasn't without its external challenges. His newfound approach to leadership and justice faced resistance from some of the more entrenched figures within the underworld, as well as skepticism from other gods who struggled to understand his transformation. How did Hades navigate these challenges and maintain his commitment to redemption in the face of adversity? That's what we'll explore next when we delve into the Mask of Authority and how Hades learned to wield his power with wisdom and compassion. Chapter 11, The God Beneath the Crown, revealing the vulnerable, caring individual beneath the authoritative exterior. Understanding Hades' hopes, fears, dreams, and the very human desires that drive his divine actions. So, let's strip away the layers, the titles, the fearsome reputation. Let's look beyond the Lord of the Underworld and see the individual beneath. What do we find? We find a being shaped by immense responsibility, yes, but also by profound loneliness. A being who values order not for the sake of power, but for the delicate balance it provides. A being capable of deep affection, even if that affection is often expressed in ways that seem, well, complicated. Think about his interactions with Zagreus. Were his actions driven by cruelty, or by a desperate attempt to protect his son from a world he believed was too dangerous? Consider the weight of knowing the ultimate fate of every soul, the burden of seeing life only in its ending. How could that not shape a being, influencing every decision, every interaction? Hades isn't simply a warden, he's a guardian. He maintains a system, a cycle, and he does so with a dedication that borders on obsession. But within that dedication lies a purpose, a belief in the necessity of his role, however thankless it may be. And what of his hopes? Perhaps he dreams of a moment's respite from the endless flow of souls, a moment of quiet reflection without the weight of eternity pressing down. Maybe he longs for genuine connection, for someone to see beyond the Lord of the Dead and recognize the individual within. His fears, though rarely expressed, are palpable. The fear of chaos, of the delicate balance of the cosmos being disrupted. The fear of failure, of not being able to fulfill his duty. And perhaps, most poignantly, the fear of being alone, truly alone, for all eternity. What are his desires? Certainly not conquest or power. He already possesses dominion over the underworld. Instead, perhaps he craves understanding, acceptance. Maybe he wants to be seen not as a monster, but as a necessary part of the cosmic order, a being worthy of respect, if not affection. These desires, these hopes and fears are profoundly human. They are the desires that drive us all, the need for connection, the fear of loss, the longing for purpose. And it's in these very human desires that we find a key to understanding Hades, not as a god, but as an individual. He's a being of immense power, yes, but also of profound vulnerability. He hides behind a mask of authority, but beneath that mask lies a being capable of deep emotion, of love and loss, of hope and despair. He's a god, certainly, but he's also something more. He's a reflection of ourselves. Consider his relationship with Persephone. It's a relationship fraught with complexity, with forced beginnings and painful separations. But within that complexity lies a genuine connection, a bond that transcends the boundaries of the underworld and the mortal realm. He allows her to leave year after year, despite the pain it causes him. Is that not an act of love, of selfless devotion? And what of his servants, his subjects, his adopted family? He may rule them with a stern hand, but he also provides them with a sense of purpose, of belonging. He creates a community in the heart of darkness, a place where even the most tormented souls can find a measure of peace. He's not a tyrant, he's a leader. He understands the needs of his realm, and he strives to meet those needs, even if it means sacrificing his own happiness in the process. He's a complex, multifaceted being, and to reduce him to a simple caricature of evil is to do him a grave disservice. Think about the countless souls he judges, the endless stream of lives that pass before his eyes. He sees the best and the worst of humanity, the triumphs and the tragedies, the moments of love and the acts of cruelty. How could that not affect him, shaping his perspective, influencing his decisions? He carries the weight of eternity on his shoulders, the burden of knowing the ultimate fate of all things. And yet, he perseveres. He continues to fulfill his duty, to maintain the balance, to ensure the continuation of the cosmic order. He's a god, yes, but he's also a survivor. He's endured millennia of solitude, of responsibility, of loss. And through it all, he has remained steadfast, unwavering in his commitment to his role. He's not perfect, far from it. He makes mistakes, he misjudges, he acts out of fear and anger. But beneath those flaws lies a core of goodness, a desire to do what is right, to protect those he cares about, to maintain the balance of the cosmos. He's a being of immense power, yes, but also of profound vulnerability. He's a god, certainly, but he's also something more. He's a human being, trapped in a divine form. Consider the power he wields, the ability to control life and death, to shape the fate of souls. And yet, he doesn't abuse that power. He uses it to maintain order, to ensure fairness, to provide a measure of justice to the countless souls who pass through his realm. He could be a tyrant, a despot, a cruel and capricious ruler. But he chooses not to be. He chooses to uphold the law, to maintain the balance, to act with fairness and impartiality. He's not driven by greed or ambition, but by a sense of duty, a commitment to his role in the cosmic order. He understands the importance of his position, and he strives to fulfill it to the best of his ability. He's a being of immense responsibility, yes, but also of profound integrity. He's a god, certainly, but he's also a moral compass, guiding the souls of the dead through the labyrinth of the underworld. Think about the sacrifices he makes, the personal happiness he forgoes in order to fulfill his duty. He lives in isolation, surrounded by the dead, cut off from the world of the living. He endures the constant flow of souls, the endless stream of suffering and despair. He could choose to escape, to abandon his post, to leave the underworld to its own devices. But he doesn't. He remains steadfast, committed to his role, willing to sacrifice his own happiness for the greater good. He's a being of immense selflessness, yes, but also of profound resilience. He's a god, certainly, but he's also a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. Consider the relationships he builds, the connections he forges in the heart of darkness. He surrounds himself with loyal servants, with trusted advisors, with adopted family. He creates a community in the most unlikely of places, a haven for the lost and the forgotten. He may be the lord of the underworld, but he's also a friend, a mentor, a father figure. He provides guidance, support, and companionship to those who need it most. He's not a solitary figure, isolated and alone. He's a leader, a protector, a beacon of hope in the darkness. He's a being of immense compassion, yes, but also of profound strength. He's a god, certainly, but he's also a reminder that even in the darkest of places, light can still be found. And what of his dreams? Does he dream of a world without death, a world without suffering? Does he dream of reunion with his loved ones, of a life free from responsibility and burden? Perhaps he does. Perhaps deep down he yearns for the same things that we all yearn for: love, happiness, and peace. He may be a god, but he's also a dreamer. He holds on to hope, even in the face of despair. He believes in the possibility of a better future, even in the heart of the underworld. He's a being of immense hope, yes, but also of profound realism. He understands the limitations of his power, the realities of his existence. He doesn't delude himself with false promises or empty fantasies. He faces the truth, however painful it may be. He's a realist, yes, but he's also an optimist. He believes in the power of good to overcome evil, of light to conquer darkness. He's a being of immense faith, yes, but also of profound pragmatism. He understands the need for both idealism and realism, for both hope and action. He's a complex, multifaceted being, capable of both great love and great sorrow, of both immense power and profound vulnerability. He's a god, certainly, but he's also a human being, trapped in a divine form. And it's in that duality, in that tension between the divine and the human, that we find the key to understanding him not as a monster, but as a reflection of ourselves. He is the god beneath the crown, a being shaped by duty, responsibility, and loss, a being capable of both immense strength and profound vulnerability, a being who, despite his fearsome reputation, is ultimately driven by the same hopes, desires, and fears that drive us all. He is a mirror reflecting our own humanity, even in the darkest of places. He is, perhaps, the most misunderstood god of all. But this understanding, this glimpse beneath the surface, only scratches the surface of the enigma that is Hades. For even as we begin to comprehend the individual, the human being within the god, we must confront the very nature of his immortality, his eternal existence. What does it mean to live forever, to witness the rise and fall of civilizations, to experience the endless cycle of life and death? And how does that infinite perspective shape his understanding of love, loss, and forgiveness? That, you see, is a question that demands its own exploration, a journey into the very heart of eternity. Chapter 12. Understanding the Misunderstood. A final reflection on why Hades has been so mischaracterized throughout history, what his true story teaches us about love, family, and forgiveness, and why his journey toward understanding represents hope for us all. For centuries, Hades has been relegated to the role of the ultimate villain, a caricature of darkness and despair. We've seen him portrayed as a vengeful tyrant, a kidnapper, and the antithesis of everything good and righteous. But is this really the full picture? Have we truly understood the complexities of this ancient god? Or have we allowed fear and prejudice to cloud our judgment? Think about it. How often do we pause to consider the perspective of those we deem other? How readily do we accept narratives that paint individuals, or even entire groups, as inherently evil? Hades, in many ways, has become a victim of this very phenomenon. His association with death, a concept that inherently frightens us, has led to his demonization. But what if we dared to look beyond the surface? What if we challenged the conventional wisdom and sought to understand the motivations and the burdens that shaped Hades into the figure we think we know? What if, beneath the intimidating exterior, there existed a being capable of profound love, unwavering duty, and even, perhaps, redemption? Throughout history, our understanding of Hades has been filtered through the lens of fear. The ancient Greeks, while acknowledging his importance in maintaining cosmic balance, still approached him with a mixture of reverence and dread. They understood that death was a necessary part of life, but they didn't necessarily it. And so, the ruler of the underworld became a convenient scapegoat for their anxieties. Later interpretations, particularly those influenced by Christian theology, further solidified Hades' negative image. He became conflated with the devil, the ultimate embodiment of evil. The underworld transformed into a hellish realm of eternal torment, and Hades became its cruel and unforgiving master. But this simplistic portrayal ignores the nuances of the original myths and the complexities of the human condition. It fails to recognize that even in the darkest corners of existence, there can be glimmers of light, moments of grace, and the potential for change. The Hades we encounter in the game challenges these long-held assumptions. He's not a mustache-twirling villain, but a complex and multifaceted character struggling with his own responsibilities, his own grief, and his own capacity for love. He's a father, a brother, a ruler, and ultimately a being who yearns for connection and understanding, even if he struggles to express it. His story is a powerful reminder that first impressions can be deceiving, and that true understanding requires us to look beyond the surface and delve into the depths of another's experience. It challenges us to question our own biases, and to consider the possibility that even those we perceive as enemies may be driven by motivations far more complex than we initially imagined. Hades' journey is a testament to the transformative power of empathy. By stepping into his shoes, by understanding his burdens and his fears, we can begin to see him not as a monster, but as a flawed and ultimately relatable individual. We can begin to appreciate the sacrifices he has made, the duties he has shouldered, and the love that he has ultimately learned to express. The story of Hades is a story about family, in all its messy and complicated glory. It's about the bonds that tie us together, the conflicts that tear us apart, and the enduring power of forgiveness. It's about the struggle to reconcile with our past, to heal old wounds, and to build a future based on understanding and acceptance. Think about his relationship with Zagreus. Driven by a desire to protect his son, Hades initially resorts to control and restriction. He fears the dangers of the outside world and believes that he knows what's best for Zagreus. But as Zagreus persists in his attempts to escape, Hades is forced to confront his own limitations and to recognize that true love means allowing those we care about to make their own choices, even if those choices lead them down a path we wouldn't have chosen for them. And what about Persephone? Her departure leaves a gaping hole in Hades' life, a constant reminder of the pain of abandonment. He struggles to understand why she left, to accept her decision, and to move forward without her. But through his interactions with Zagreus and the other inhabitants of the House of Hades, he gradually learns to open himself up to new connections and to find solace in the relationships he still has. Hades' journey is also a story about forgiveness, both of others and of himself. He carries the weight of his past mistakes, the burden of his deceived failures, and the guilt of his own shortcomings. But as he witnesses Zagreus' unwavering determination and experiences the loyalty of his servants and subjects, he begins to see himself in a new light. He begins to understand that even though he may not be perfect, he is capable of love, of compassion, and of change. Ultimately, the story of Hades is a story about hope. It's about the possibility of redemption, even for those who seem beyond saving. It's about the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. And it's about the importance of understanding and acceptance in a world that is often divided by fear and prejudice. His transformation, his gradual opening up, his willingness to learn and to grow offers us a powerful message that even the most hardened hearts can be softened, that even the most entrenched beliefs can be challenged, and that even the most seemingly insurmountable obstacles can be overcome. The game Hades offers us a unique opportunity to re-evaluate our perceptions of this often misunderstood figure. It invites us to see him not as a villain, but as a complex and relatable individual struggling with universal themes of love, loss, duty, and redemption. It encourages us to question our own biases and to embrace the possibility of change. By understanding Hades, we can begin to understand ourselves. We can learn to recognize our own fears, our own prejudices, and our own capacity for growth. We can learn to embrace the complexities of the human condition and to find compassion for those who are different from us. So, the next time you encounter the name Hades, I urge you to pause and consider the story we've explored together. Remember the weight of his crown, the pain of his past, and the love that ultimately guides his actions. Remember that even in the darkest of realms, there is always the potential for light. His story is a testament to the enduring power of empathy and the transformative potential of understanding. It's a reminder that even those who seem most different from us may be struggling with similar challenges and yearning for the same connections. And it's a call to action, to challenge our own biases, to embrace the complexities of the human condition, and to strive for a world where understanding and acceptance prevail. The journey of Hades is, in many ways, a reflection of our own. We all face challenges, we all make mistakes, and we all strive to find meaning and connection in a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable. By understanding his struggles, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own. And perhaps, most importantly, Hades' story offers us a glimmer of hope. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, even in the depths of despair, there is always the possibility of change, of growth, and of redemption. It's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and the unwavering potential for love to conquer all. But while we've explored the depths of Hades' character and the reasons behind his mischaracterization, there's another crucial element that often gets overlooked: the impact of his realm on the very nature of existence. What does it mean for a god to be intrinsically linked to death and the afterlife? And how does this unique position shape his interactions with the other gods and mortals alike? This is the question we'll delve into next, as we uncover the profound influence of the Underworld on the cosmic order and Hades' pivotal role in maintaining the delicate balance between life and death.